Good morning again, everybody, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms that are here, including my mom. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Yeah, she wanted to go to her favorite son's church on Mother's Day, and that's why she's here. Okay, so happy Mother's Day, everybody. Now I know, like for a lot of people, this is a great day to celebrate your moms or moms in your life, and we want you to be able to do that. Outside, when you walked in, if you didn't have any kids, you walked in the main entrance, there's a big backdrop that is there for you to get your Mother's Day pictures, okay? So, like, make sure you take your whole family out there and take those pictures. But we also do want to recognize that we know that this is not an easy day for everybody. For some people, like, they would like to be moms and they are not, or their mom passed away, or they don't have a relationship with their mom, or they don't have a relationship with their kids. So we know this isn't an easy day for everybody. So I just want to let you know, if that's you, we see you. And we know that this isn't always an easy day, and we are praying for you on this day. This has been a great week for us. Not only do we have 14 baptisms on Tuesday, but all the men just got back from our men's retreat last weekend. We had 50 guys that were at the men's retreat. It was a lot of fun, and we got a lot of good feedback back. We even had, it was more emotional for a bunch of men in a room than you would think. Like there were some emotions that were happening. Small groups met for hours. It went really well, and we all stayed up way too late playing Mafia. If you know that game, just know I'm really good at that game. Game about lying and killing, and I'm the best at it. So I don't know what that says, but thank you guys all for being here. We're in James. We're continuing our series on James. If you have your Bibles, James chapter 3, like we just heard, I encourage you to open up James chapter 3. You ever heard this saying, walk the walk before you talk the talk? Very famous saying that I actually looked up the history of this saying. This came out in the early 20th century, where the Mansfield News, which was a local newspaper in Ohio, mentioned somebody who walks the walk and talks the talk. It's the first time it's ever recorded, this saying that we probably know. Walk the walk before you talk the talk. Or you can say, practice what you preach. Or maybe actions speak louder than words. All these sayings are ways to say that before you say something, you better make sure you have actions to back it up. Before you say something, your actions better back it up. Years ago, I was playing golf. It was myself, my brother, and two other friends of ours. We were doing 2 versus 2. I was on one team, my brother was on the other team. We were going to the second to last hole, and we're tied at this point. And my brother and his partner, they tee off. It's a par 3. I know some of you don't understand golf, but just know it's a closer hole. And they hit their shots into the woods, both my brother and the other guy. Now, myself and my partner, we both tee off, and we actually hit it onto the green. You know me in golf, that's a miracle, okay, that I hit it on the green, right? And we're both on the green. You don't have to know golf to know that if your ball's in the woods, that's bad. You don't want it in the woods. You want it on the green. Myself and my partner are standing on the green, and my brother and his partner are looking for their balls, desperately trying to find their balls in the deep woods, right? And there's nothing worse than looking for your ball in the woods while everyone else on the green waiting. Except for maybe if it's your older brother that's waiting. Because I am saying comments the whole time loudly. I'm saying things like, well, this was a fun match while it lasted, isn't it, right? I'm saying things like, hey, do you want us to just finish up and putt while you're still looking? Because it's going to take you a while to find it. And then I said this. This is the quote that my brother remembers. I kept saying, you know what? Some of us just aren't mentally strong enough for this game. That's just how it is. Some of us aren't. It's okay. Like, you'll learn. But so we win that hole, obviously. I'm on the green, and then I am talking as much trash as I possibly can, like all the way to the next hole. We're on 18, okay? So now we're up by 1. All we have to do is tie this hole, and then we're good. I hit a drive. It's in play. That's also a miracle. Like, oh, we're good now. Then I hit my next shot. It's close to the green. I'm on the green. It's not a very far putt, and all I have to do is 3-putt it. If you know me, I'm really good at 3-putting. It's all I do, actually, is 3-putt. So I go up there, and before I putt, I'm saying the same thing. Listen, guys, you'll grow. You'll learn how to play at one point, but it's a mental game, guys, and you guys don't have the mental strength like we do. I go to do my first putt. I don't hit it very far. So I'm like, okay, not a good start. It's okay. It's not that far. I'll make sure I get it there next time. Then I crush it past the hole. I'm like, oh, no. So then I go, and I have to make this putt. If I miss this putt, we lose this hole. We tie the match, and I was talking a lot of trash. And, of course, I missed the putt. Like, I wasn't even close. After the game's over, we take our hats off. We shake our hands because it's a gentleman's game. We shake our hands, and no one says anything. We're slowly walking back, and then I hear my brother just say, some of us aren't mentally strong enough for the game. I remember, I was able to talk the talk, but I wasn't able to walk the walk, right? The book of James, especially in chapter 3, this is exactly what we learned. James, the whole book of James is very practical. Because what we learned in the book of James is this: real faith shows up in real life. Our faith isn't just about getting us to heaven someday, it's about living the abundant life today. James, the half-brother of Jesus, who followed Jesus after he was resurrected, the whole book that is full of his teachings, of the teachings of how we practically live out our faith, of how we practically do it. Real faith shows up in real life. And in James chapter 3, James makes it clear that followers of Jesus, they both walk the walk and they talk the talk. Do both. They walk the walk and they talk the talk. Pastor Michelle last week did a great job looking at the end of James chapter 2. And we get a very famous verse that you probably know. Faith without works is dead. Get that very famous verse. It's also a pretty controversial verse, but Pastor Michelle pointed out that this verse isn't talking about how we are saved. It's actually talking about the evidence that we are saved. Because our works do not save us, right? We are saved by the finished work of Jesus and Jesus Christ alone. That is what saves us. Our works cannot and will never save us. But our works do show that we've accepted that grace. And directly after James tells us this, he gives a very practical lesson. Okay, here's how your faith will show itself through its works. Here's how it'll do it: through your mouth, through your words, through the way that you speak. As followers of Jesus, we need to walk the walk and talk the talk. Because our words matter. Our talk matters. See, what are the sins of our mouth? What are the sins of our words? Things like this, like lying, boasting out of pride, gossiping, cursing, taking God's name in vain, slandering, and so much more. And for some of us, these are just normal parts of our lives. Like for some of us, that's just the strategies we use to get ahead when it comes to our job. Some of us, that's what we grew up with, so we wouldn't know any different. That's just how we talk. It's our work culture. It's our sports culture. It's our friends' culture. And for many of us, these sins are just things that we just see as completely normal and completely what just how we're supposed to live. So when we think of our words, we normally don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just our words. It's just how we talk. But James would disagree. In all 5 chapters of James, James talks about how we use our words in some kind of capacity. But he spends 12 verses specifically on your words, on what we say. And in these 12 verses, we see 3 truths that come out in these 12 verses. Here's the first truth. Words are powerful. Words are powerful. Your words matter. What you say matters. They mean something. They are powerful. They are actually more powerful than most of us think. What if every week that I came up here and I preached on this little stage that we have, these carpets, and every week I gave like the best sermon anyone's ever given. And every week it's like, man, that was exactly what I needed to hear. Every week you get that. And because of that, this church grows to 2,000-3,000 people. Because when I'm on here, I'm impressive when I'm talking. I'm impressive to everyone when I speak. But then every time you see me off of this stage, you don't see the same person. What if every time you saw me, you talked to my wife, I would just belittle her in front of everybody? What if every time you heard me talk to my kids, I just yell at them, I was never patient? What if you heard me constantly talk badly about someone who isn't here, or tell secrets about someone to someone else that no one should ever know about? What if you got dinner with me and you saw me talk down to the waiter or the waitress and just treated them disrespectfully? And what if you criticized me or challenged me on anything, I immediately got defensive, I yelled back at you, and I cut you off and said, you're no longer welcome here? Would the great sermons and what I'm doing on here matter to you anymore? No, it wouldn't. Because you would know who I really am. The way I speak shows my heart. My words show who I am way more than what I'm doing right now. Anyone can do it for 30 minutes. But my words show who I really am. And the same is true with you. Your words are important. Your words show who you really are. That is why James spends so much time talking about it. It's why he starts this way. He says, not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly. James is telling us that you and I are going to have to answer for the words that we give. And you might read that and go, well, not me, because I'm not a teacher. Like, yeah, maybe you and maybe the actual teachers, but like, I don't teach anything. Well, what does the original language say here? The word teachers here, and other translations say masters. The Greek word for teachers or masters is didaskalos. which is said 58 times in the New Testament, mostly referring to Jesus. It is referenced in the New Testament as one who teaches things concerning God or the duties of man. So if you talk about something that concerns God or the duties of man, you are a teacher. The Jewish people back then were prone to believe the idea that faith without works was all that was actually required of you. That's why James talks directly about that. He says, no, faith without works is dead. Because of this belief, many people would just start teaching. There was no credentials, there was no responsibility, they just start teaching. In fact, the church would a lot of times rotate and everyone would take a turn teaching. So James is actually emphasizing, hey, when you are teaching, you need to understand there's an importance to this, that there's a responsibility in teaching. So are these verses telling us that people like myself or Pastor Michelle, when we come up here and speak, that we have a responsibility? And we need to be careful of what we say because we will be judged more strictly with our words. Is it saying that about us? It is. It is saying that. That is absolutely true. And I want you to know that both Michelle and I and anyone else who comes out here, we understand that. I have a whole team that reviews my sermon before I give it. So they will come back to me, any feedback prior to the sermon, so that way I can give the best sermon I possibly can. I have people that will come to me after service who will lovingly challenge me on something that I said if it wasn't either articulated well or just incorrect or was false. They will lovingly challenge me on that. I spend the whole week praying over my sermon and praying for you that are going to hear it. And the whole time when worship's happening, I sit right there and I say the same thing to myself. I've been saying it for 8 years, over and over and over. God, less of me, more of you. Less of me, more of you. We take it very seriously. We should. We take the responsibility seriously. But is this verse only saying that? Like, is that the end? Is that all it's talking about? Let's make it more personal. Is this verse saying that you have a responsibility, even if you're not a teacher? Well, if the original Greek word says for a teacher is someone who teaches things concerning God or duties of man, I'll ask you a couple more questions. Do you have kids that you're teaching about God? Do you? Are you discipling people? You're trying to teach them about the ways of God. Maybe do you serve in the kids area, or do you serve with the students on Tuesday, or do you lead a small group? Teach there. Or here's the ultimate question. Does the Great Commission apply to you? You know what the Great Commission is? Jesus, after he's already died and resurrected, he's about to be ascended back to heaven. Here's what he says in Matthew chapter 28. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and, what's the word? Teaching. Teaching them to obey everything I have commanded. Is this just for pastors? No. Is this just for leaders? No. This is for followers of Jesus. This is for disciples. What that means is, all of us in some capacity are a teacher. Since we are all teachers, careful with your words, because your words are powerful. And to make sure that we understood this analogy, we understood this teaching, James gives two analogies. He says, a bit in a horse's mouth, and he talks about a rudder in a ship. I'll give you another modern day analogy of that. Imagine a car, right, and the steering wheel. The steering wheel is a very small part of the car. The car has a lot more things that. But the steering wheel is important because the steering wheel can either keep you on the right track or it can literally take you into a ditch, right? The same is true with our mouth and with our tongue. Something very small has a very big impact. Words are powerful. Even Jesus said how powerful our words are. Look what Jesus says in Luke chapter 6. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. And an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Here's what that means. Your words aren't just words. Your words show what's in your heart. So if you say words that are full of anger, bitterness, that are negative all the time, that are arrogant, it's not just your words. You're showing something inside. There's something in your heart that's making you say those things. These aren't just words. There's something deeper. Our words matter because they are powerful. And because they are so powerful, we have a choice on what we can do with our words. The first truth, our words are powerful, but the second truth, our words can destroy. Words can destroy. James had made it clear at this point, words are powerful. He used two metaphors to make sure they understood that how powerful their words are. And then he gives another metaphor to show how much they can destroy. Because they're so powerful, how much they can destroy. James chapter 3, verse 5 through 6. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue is also fire, the world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. What a bleak picture of how destructive our words can be. I don't know if you remember this, but in November of 2020, the biggest wildfire in America's history happened. It's called the El Dorado Fire. It happened in California. There's actually a picture of what it looked like at one point. This fire, if you remember, this burned for 71 days. It burned 10,000 acres. It destroyed 20 structures, and it killed a firefighter in the process. They finally got this thing contained after over 2 months of it burning. They finally got it contained, and then they had to figure out, okay, what caused this? What was the source of this? I mean, it had to be something big. It had to be like a bomb that went off. It had to be like a gasoline truck that accidentally exploded. It had to be that, right? No, you know what started this fire? This 71-day, 10,000-acre fire was started at a gender reveal party. You know those like pink or blue smoke things that happen? One of those happened, one little spark came, and all of a sudden, before you knew it, this happened. Small spark destroyed an entire forest. And that's what James says our words does as well. You know the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? That saying is not true. Here's what the saying should be. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will hurt forever. Right? Our words don't just hurt in the moment. They shape the direction of people's lives. Our words don't just impact others, they affect their whole lives. And it doesn't take much to cause a lot of damage. One sarcastic comment that's taken the wrong way. One angry outburst that you said things that were just a little too personal. One piece of gossip that you got found out that you said it and it destroyed your reputation. When I was a kid, there was 2 things I remember being called that I still remember to this day. One when I was in middle school, one that I was a freshman in college. In 8th grade, I had a friend who called me Fievel. If you don't know who Fievel is, Fievel was a cartoon that was back when I was growing up, it was a mouse with huge ears, okay? That's what they called me. So they were trying to say, hey, you have really big ears. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And then when I was in college, I worked at a bagel store, and someone just started calling me Sharpie. And I was like, how are you calling me Sharpie? Where did that come from? Because you have the sharpest chin I've ever seen. We're going to call you Sharpie from now. And I know how guys are, so I'm just kind of trying to be like, ha, that's funny. That's not hurting my feelings at all. Like, keep doing that, please. Like, I'm trying to like do that. And for years, they called me Sharpie. I don't remember the guy's name who called me Fievel. I don't remember the guy's name who called me Sharpie. But I remember what they called me. And I still think about it to this day, and I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm still thinking about it. We try to excuse it. We say things like, it's just words. Or I'm just trying to be funny. I'm just being honest. Listen, I just get mad sometimes. Hey, I said I'm sorry. And listen, you can say whatever you want. You have the right to do that. But when you misuse your words, James doesn't just say it's going to destroy. It says it comes from hell, is what James says. It says that the enemy is going to use it to hurt you and to hurt the people around you. James says it corrupts the whole body. That's the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. In Matthew chapter 16, Jesus tells his disciples that he is going to die, be resurrected 3 days later. He's telling them God's will and what God's plan is. And Peter steps up, and Peter goes, no, not on my watch, Jesus. You're never going to die, not on my watch. And Peter's like, he's just being good. Like, he's actually just trying to show, like, hey, I love you. I don't want you to die, right? But what Peter doesn't know is with his words, Peter is actually trying to dismiss the will of God. He's trying to go against the will of God. So you know Jesus responds to Peter? He says, get behind me, Satan. See, Jesus knows what James is telling us. Doesn't take much. Her words are so powerful, just a little spark can destroy everything. So do you understand the weight? Do you understand the weight of your words? Do you understand the weight when you argue with your spouse? When you yell at your kids? When you gossip about your friends? When you talk negatively about other people? When you criticize people that are in a position that you can't possibly understand, in an environment that you do not understand, you decide you know how to do their job better than they do. So you criticize them to everyone else around you. Do you understand the weight of it? Most of us don't think of our words as that big of a deal, but James would disagree with you. Do not underestimate the damage that you can do simply by what you say. Words are powerful, and when we choose to use them for evil, it can destroy everything. But James also makes it clear. Our third point. Words can build up. Words can build up. Your words don't have to just be used for destruction. We can also use our words to build others up. Look how James contrasts this. He says this in verse 9 and 10. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. He's saying, how can in one breath we sing praise songs to God, and then in the next breath we curse one of our brothers and sisters? Not only does it not make sense, James says you just can't do that. It's not possible to do. James says that out of the overflow of our mouth, our heart speaks. James doesn't just say that praise and cursing out of the same mouth is wrong. He says it's impossible. So when you sit here and you sing praise songs to God and then go right around when you leave and destroy somebody else or talk negatively about somebody that was in this building or pastor or whoever else it was, James says you can't really do that. Something is wrong if that is happening. You can't do both. But clearly James is pointing that one is a better option than the other, right? We can hear that in these verses. Clearly praising God is better than cursing. Because you know that the words are powerful. You can choose to use those words, build others up rather than destroy. You know that how you speak is directly connected to your worship, right? You understand that? I mean, let me give you an analogy. If after this sermon, you came up to me and said like the nicest things possible, hey, Eric, that sermon was so good. It hit me right where I needed to hear it, and that was amazing. And you're looking stronger than ever. You don't have that much gray hair. Like you said all those things, right, to me, to be nice. And then right when you're done the conversation, you walk over to my kids, and you yell at them, and you bully them, and you make fun of them. Do you think I'm going to look at you and be like, you're a friend? Yeah, no, I feel loved by you. No, you're my enemy now. Because I don't care the nice things you said to me. If you do that to my kids, you don't care about me anymore. So if you do that to my kids, then all of a sudden I do not feel loved anymore. When you use your words to praise your Heavenly Father, and then go around talking negatively about his kids, it feels the same way. Your words are powerful. So what if you use the power of your words to build others up? Maybe to encourage somebody that needs to be encouraged. You can just tell that they're struggling and you need to give them some encouragement. To show gratitude beyond just a normal thank you for something, but to say, hey, I want to thank you for this specifically. I see that you did this and you did not have to do this way, but I want to thank you specifically for that. I appreciate what you do. To affirm someone's gifts or callings. Say, man, you're really good at this. Man, you're really good at whatever you. I see something in you. That is awesome. To speak life into people. To reflect God by the way that you speak. My love language is words of affirmation. My wife knows that. What she likes to say is, I affirm you, which is not the same as words of affirmation, by the way. When we first started preaching, when we first started Impact and I started preaching, I would go to her after every sermon and be like, hey, what do you think of my sermon? And she took it as, hey, you're an adult, you want feedback, I'll give you good feedback. She didn't know that I'm a child and I only wanted her to say, you're amazing, that's awesome, and you look sexy doing it. That's all I wanted her to say. I use that word because my kids are in the front row and they did not like that. Okay. Sorry. I didn't use that first service. I only did it this one. That's all I wanted her to say, right? But she has learned that sometimes with just how ministry is and how church is, there's times where I leave discouraged. There's times where I'm like, I didn't say things the way I wanted to. There's times I make mistakes. I know it's hard to believe, but I make plenty of mistakes in leadership. There's times where people will leave and it really hurts my feelings, or people say things to me and I feel discouraged, or I just feel a little bit of emotional weight. My wife is really good at seeing it. And all of a sudden I'll get like a long text the middle of the day. Or she'll just say something to me. It's like, oh, she knew I needed that. And I promise you, I don't know if this is true for sure, but it feels this way. I don't know if I would still be able to pastor with confidence the way I do if it wasn't for her affirmation. She builds me up. I need that stuff. And so do you. Your words are powerful. They can destroy or they can build up. So if you're here and you would say that you are a follower of Jesus, here's the question I want you to wrestle with as we get ready to close. Is the way you speak inconsistent with who you are? Is it? Is it inconsistent? So if you're here and you would say, I'm a follower of Jesus, here's what that means. That means that you understand that you are a broken sinner in desperate need of grace. That you couldn't do anything to earn salvation. But yet, God gave the free gift of his Son to come to live a perfect life, to die our death, and be resurrected to prove that our debt was paid for. That we are like, our sin is a sickness, and that God heals us. We are invited into an abundant life, so we are connected to God solely because of the life of Jesus. If you confess to be a follower of Jesus, that's what you believe. You believe in that grace and in that hope. Your words show that. Is the way you speak inconsistent who you are? You can't claim to follow Jesus and consistently speak like someone who doesn't. Eventually, those two things are going to collide. James isn't telling us to try harder. James isn't saying, hey, try to stop using those words, or try to stop slandering, or just really try to stop gossiping. That's not what James is telling us to do. James is telling us that our words reveal something deeper that's going on inside of us. Remember what Jesus said, out of the overflow of our heart, the mouth speaks. What I'm saying today is not a tongue issue, not a words issue. It's all a heart issue. So if the way you speak is inconsistent with who you are, I don't want you to work on just trying different language. You need to look deeper into your heart. Your words aren't the problem. It's just evidence that there is a problem. When I was in college, especially, I remember I was always like the more arrogant one, always the more bragging one. You just heard the story of me golfing. You'd be like, yeah, I see that. And I would always be like, if I didn't get the attention for something I did, I would make sure I got it. Like I remember I would always do if I did dishes or something or laundry, I would make sure my wife knew, or I'd make sure that people know. If someone got credit for something that I did, I'd be like, no, I helped with that. Like I did that. Make sure you give me. I wanted the attention at all times. I would use my words to make sure I got attention. I was using my words for attention seeking. And I learned it wasn't really about my words. It was a belief that I'm not good enough, and I wanted to make people feel like I'm good enough. So I would give these words to make sure that you always thought I was good enough because I didn't think I was good enough. It was a heart issue. What destructive things do you say? What are they showing you about your heart? Whether it's anger, condescension, or bitterness, or being negative, or gossiping, or lying, or attention seeking. What are those things? Because they're going to reveal to you something deeper inside of you. So the closing challenge for you today is not to try really hard to not cuss anymore, or try really hard to not yell at anybody, or try really hard not to gossip. That's not the challenge for you today. The challenge is to ask yourself, why? Why do I keep struggling with this? Why is this the thing I keep doing with my mouth? Why am I saying these things? Instead of saying, listen, I'm just going to be better this week, I'm going to try really hard, our prayer should be, God, change me from the inside out. Start with me here, and then my words are going to reflect that. To be consistent with who we are. So the question I have for you, is the way you speak inconsistent with who you are? Your words are powerful. Don't ever discredit them. They are powerful. They have the power to destroy. They also have the power to build up. Are the words you speak inconsistent with who you are? And if they are, why? What's going on? What's going on in your heart that you have not surrendered to God? What is that thing you keep holding on to, that lie that you keep believing about yourself that's just not true? It's from the enemy. What do you have to give up to God? What do you need to give up and surrender to Him? Let's pray. God, we thank you that you are the God who saves sinners like us. People who don't always live up to who we say we are. Our actions don't always reflect our beliefs. God, I thank you that you are the God who saved each one of us. That even though we can never earn it, we do not deserve it, that you give us the grace and hope that it's only found through your death and resurrection. Dear God, I pray that you convict each one of us with the way we use our words that are inconsistent with you. And make it clear to each one of us why we do it. What the heart issue is that is causing that mouth issue. I pray for conviction right now. That we are convicted of the ways that we are inconsistent with you. And give us the courage to surrender that to you. To offer that back to you. I thank you that you are the God who saved us, who loved us, who has a plan for us. That you help us to continually surrender every aspect of ourselves, our whole life, our whole heart to you. That the actions we do reflect the grace that you have already given. Remind us of how powerful our words are. Help us to use our words to build others up and not destroy. And help us to be consistent with who we are, your son and your daughter. In your son's name. As we get ready to play this closing song, I want to encourage you. I'm going to ask you to stand and sing in a minute, but I want to remind you that this time, during this song, is for you. It's time between you and God to do whatever you want to do. Maybe for you, this is a time for you to really reflect. God, what is it in me that I have not fully surrendered to you? Maybe for you, you just need to say, I'm going to stop using my mouth for bad. I'm going to use it for good. I'm going to praise. Or maybe you need prayer. Maybe something that you heard today spoke to you and you know you need to surrender something. In the back, we have our prayer wall. If that's you and you need prayer, there'll be people back there waiting for you to pray with you over whatever that is. We encourage you, whatever is in your heart right now, whatever God is saying to you today, use this opportunity during this song to give it all up to Him. Let's stand, let's sing together.